But basically, I've been certified by Marie.
Okay. No, that was a good answer. And you and I met at a Babes Who brunch back in 2017.
17, I want to say 2017.
Yeah, and I remember you gave me your card. I had your card for the longest time, and I remember you telling the table exactly what you were doing in this business you were in. So, and I'm assuming there's a difference between tidy and cleaning.
Yes. So a lot of the times people use the terms interchangeably, but when you're thinking about like, let's say spring cleaning, that's something that people are thinking about doing, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning, you're really getting rid of like the dirt and the grime. So Marie says cleaning is an act of confronting nature, whereas tidying, you're trying to decide what items am I keeping, where should I put it? You're confronting yourself. And that's what makes tidying harder than cleaning. Because cleaning, you're like, okay, it's dusty, so I'm gonna dust this, or the floor's dirty, so I'm going to vacuum and then mop it. Like, there's
Yeah.
that's what you do because dirt does not spark joy for anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I love cleaning. That I think I told you before when we chatted, vacuuming is so therapeutic for me. But tidying, like if you looked in my closet, yes, I need someone to take care of that for me. So, and instead of, organizing it, I just tend to give things away just to get it out of there instead of facing it on and organizing it. And then I want to go and wear something and I'm like, oh, where'd it go? Well, I gave it away.
Well, letting go is a huge part of it, right? And you kind of have to trust your decision because the way that we see it in the Kumar method is that as you're tidying, you're honing your sensitivity to what brings you joy. So you're learning a lot about yourself as to, okay, why didn't this dress work out? Why didn't this shirt work out? Because sometimes we buy things and then we don't think, like, let's say you buy something and you're like, I like this design, therefore I bought it. But then you go home and you put it on, you're like, well, I like everything except the material because it's a little itchy or maybe it's a little scratchy or you're like, it doesn't breathe. And I'm like
Yeah.
sweating like crazy whenever I wear this. I'm just like thinking of scenarios that I've personally experienced. Or you buy something and you're like, okay, if I just like lose 5 pounds, maybe I'll fit into it. Or if I just find the right pair of pants to pair with this top, it would be
Yeah.
great. And then it doesn't work out and you realize or maybe there's like a trend and you're like, oh, this color is in, then you go and buy a shirt in this color without thinking maybe you don't like that color.
Yeah.
So in the process of tidying, we really encourage that you think about why things didn't work out so that you can thank it and let it go. And you can say like, well, thank you, shirt, for teaching me that I don't like polyester, or thank you, shirt, for teaching me that I don't like to wear the color red. These
Yeah.
lessons will help you become a better shopper.
Wow, I never thought of it that way, ever. I just think, well, I won't usually wear white. Well, this is kind of grayish white, but because
Yeah,
with little kids, when my 2-year-old wants picked up, she
yeah,
usually has stuff on her hands. So,
yeah.
um,
It's a dangerous thing to wear white when you have a small child.
yeah, yeah. Um, so how obviously right now you're not able to go into people's homes. So how have you shifted your business to still be able to service your client base?
Well, it's funny because when they were like, no one's going anywhere, you should just like, everyone should just stay home. The day that the city shut down, I felt really depressed because I canceled all my appointments for the rest of the month, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? But then a few people started reaching out to me saying like, well, when can you come back? Like, if you cancel
Yeah,
all the appointments. And I started thinking, well, maybe people aren't so overwhelmed by everything that's happening in the world that they still want to tidy up because they're home. And so I ended up creating an online program. So it was a 6-week tidying challenge where every week I talked about that, because in the Kumar method, there's 5 different categories and you work in the order of the category. So starting with clothing, then you do books and then paper. And then it's a miscellaneous category that basically is like everything else in your home. So that would include like your toiletries, your kitchen things, your tools, your sporting equipment, like all those things. And then the last category is sentimental. So then I broke down these 5 categories into 6 weeks, and every week we deep dive into one of them, and then there's like a little challenge that people could do because some people wanted to like tidy up their entire house, whereas some people just wanted to be entertained really.
Yeah.
And so, it's really a work at your own pace kind of situation. And it was super fun. So I had a bunch of people signed up. We actually just finished last week, the 6-week course,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy because I'm like, has it really been 6 weeks where I just been at home?
Has it? It has, I guess.
It
Yeah.
has. Yeah, because it just finished last week, the group course, but then now I'm moving into like a group coaching situation where the people, like there's people part of the group that wanted to take it further and they
Oh,
want to continue to tidy up, but they want more guidance because it's fun in the group because, then everybody's like sharing their
yeah.
pictures, like the before and afters that everybody shares, so satisfying to look at. And then, of course, I do like one-on-one virtual coaching with some of my clients as well. And then another thing that I wasn't expecting to pivot into is a few consultants have reached out to me to coach them, like business coaching. So I've been
Oh,
doing, yeah, so I've been doing some of that as well because some people wanted to learn like how did you put together this program? And some people just wanted to like take this time to set up their business so
yeah.
that when they are ready to go back out again, they feel like, they're really pushing forward in their business because I'm one of the few consultants that do this job full time. There's a lot of Kumari consultants out there who are doing this as like a side, um, like a passion
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah. And it's so interesting, like even just like the people that I've met, there's really accomplished people who are certified KonMari consultants. There's like lawyers, doctors,
Really?
there's, yeah, and then they're just doing this because it changed their life and they wanted to continue to change other people's
Yeah.
lives. There's like a guy who's in a band, like a rock band. There's another guy who's like an actor. He's on an Amazon show. And so
Wow.
he's doing this on the side. There's like another woman who is, there's so many executives, like it's crazy. There's people that work for like the WHO. There's like really accomplished people that are KonMari consultants, but not everyone is doing it full time.
So, did you ever, when you started this, would you ever expect it to shift into the mentoring side?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it wasn't really something that I guess I just really didn't consider it. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't something I was like, oh, one day I'm gonna mentor people on how they
Yeah.
run a business. Because up to this point, I've been looking for those mentorships myself, right? Like I take a lot of online courses. I go to events like Big Super Brunch where we
Yeah.
met. I like to do those things like go to conferences and just like meet people. Like I've done a few wine women well-being events as well.
Yeah.
And
Lisa's events are great. Yeah.
yeah, they're so great. Like I spoke for them. And at two different locations and like Camp Hoo Ha. Like I do a lot of like speaking as well. Like that's another thing that my business took me in a direction that I didn't expect. Like not COVID related. Like I didn't expect to become a public speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
Wow.
thought it would just be like in people's
Yeah.
homes. Yeah.
And it's crazy what just Lisa and I actually from Wine Women Wellbeing talked about this on Friday. Like for myself, I'm doing things that I never would have done an Instagram live ever before
Yeah.
this. But we've shifted everything, and in the last, I guess, 6 weeks, I've just learned so much in the virtual space. So it's just interesting how much has changed, and but we had no choice.
Yeah.
So just one question back to what you said. So do you have to hit complete each step before you can move on to the next step?
Yes. You
Okay.
sh Technically you should. It's it's just one of those things where when you work in the category, you finish the category and then you move on,
Okay.
right? Because then you're done. Because the idea when you do a Komari, we call it a tiding festival or a tiding marathon. We call this like a once in a lifetime event. So the idea is you only have to do this crazy thing one time and then you never have to do it again. It's not like you never will buy a new thing or you'll never throw out anything else, but you'll never go through every single object in your home trying to find a place in it. Like
Yeah.
that's the process,
Yeah.
joy checking everything. Like, does this bring me joy? For
Yeah.
every single item in your home, you only do that once. So in order to really do a thorough job, you do the whole category and then you move to the next category. And then that way, when you're done, you just know like Yeah, I've looked at everything. Like
Yeah,
I've looked at every sock, I've looked at every underwear, then you moved on to books and you're like, I've looked at every single novel, every single comic book, every single magazine. Like you look at
yeah.
everything before you move forward.
And then having closure that it's done. I like that because I
Yeah.
tend to bounce around and then don't get anything accomplished fully.
Yes. So we have like the checklist, which people love because then it breaks down your category into subcategories. So
Okay.
instead of thinking like, because if you think, okay, I'm gonna tackle my closet, it's gonna take me 10 hours or however long you think it's gonna take you, right? I know you look kind of stressed the moment I said that. But then maybe it's more manageable if I say, okay, only do your socks today,
Yeah.
right? Then you pull
Yeah.
out all your socks and then you do it. And then you know your socks are done. And then you can move to the next thing. Maybe the next time you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can do all your underwear, all your bras, or
Yeah.
all your tops, or your like jackets, or all your shoes. Like you do. And then if that category, let's say shoes is too big of a category, like I used to have over 100 pairs of shoes. So
Yeah.
I know, I know what it's like to have a lot of something. And then you can break it down into like, okay, I'll do all the heels, or then I'll do all the sandals, and then I'll do all the sneakers. Like you can always break things down into a
Yeah.
more manageable category if it's too big.
Yeah.
And then that way you can still progress in the category without doing all of it at once and feeling completely overwhelmed.
I would start with socks because I have 20 pairs. I guarantee only 2 pair match though. So that would be, I'd be done that like that. So with what we're hearing a lot on our end is, people that were maybe considering selling, listing and selling because they want more space, want to go to that next square footage size home, move up in the market essentially. So now we're talking to a lot of them, and after being at home for the last month and a bit, living on top of each other, and really they're coming back saying, okay, there's no doubt we do want more space.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend? What would you say are your top 3 things that people can do to get their house ready to go to market? Because I know we have our things that we tell people, but I guarantee yours are way better.
Okay, well, I don't know about way better, but I do know that a lot of my clients end up moving, which is really funny because when I meet them, usually people hire me because they're like, Helen, I'm in my forever home. I love it. I just need you to help me spark joy in my home. And then once we get through, I would say probably like 75%. That's kind of like the mark, or just over half. That's when people start thinking, maybe it wouldn't be that hard to move because they're no longer they don't feel like they're bogged down by all the stuff. Like moving doesn't seem like such a pain.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, so if somebody calls today and say I'm gonna move, it depends on how much time they have, because if they have more time, then they can do a tidying festival where they can joy check everything and really only bring the things that sparks joy with them to the new home, right? But
Okay.
then sometimes people are like like if we're talking like I'm gonna put my house on the market by next Monday, like I don't have a lot of time, just give me like what's quick, then I would say, number one, probably pack up all your sentimental items, right?
Mhm.
Because if you have a lot of like pictures on the fridge, even just taking all the magnets and all the picture, all the artwork off a fridge will make that whole area look so much
Yeah.
cleaner. Definitely have a clear counter, and I don't know, like you really need to get a good clean too, because having a good clean is really important. But when people have a little bit more time and they can actually go through their things, and that's most of my clients, then let's say when we are going through closet,
Yeah.
right? We're going through the clothing. And right now we're spring heading into summer. Then what we might do is we might pack away all the heavy things that for sure they
Yeah.
don't need. Like we might pack away like the sweaters and the coats and all those things, like the winter boots, because then that opens up the space. Even
Yeah.
if it fits into the closet and it's really cramped, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So you never want people to think that your house is lacking storage in any way.
Yeah.
Even if that's true for you and that's why you're moving to a larger home, you never want the next person, because you might be the perfect size for them, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want them to feel like, you're lacking storage in any way. So that's why you shouldn't like pack everything so close. And then I will also remove any kind of furniture that people are using. Like, let's say sometimes people have a small kitchen and they might get a extra like bar cart or like an
Yeah.
island.
Yeah.
I would get rid of that because I feel like that just closed down, like it
Yeah.
closed up the space a lot. Get rid of any like furniture that is used purely for storage. Like there's no um like
Other,
it's not for the aesthetic. Yeah, like
yes.
it's not there because it looks pretty.
Yeah.
You purely have it there because you don't have enough storage and it's very clear. I would like, yeah, try to pack up all the stuff, pack up all your like holiday stuff, just like try to pack away all the stuff
Yeah.
that you don't need right now. That way it's out of the way, it doesn't look bad, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So if people have their Christmas decorations still out, they should maybe put it away.
I actually was working with a client where the Christmas decoration was still out. Like
Really?
the Christmas tree, yeah, it was like still out and it was like March and
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
So interesting. I had a thought when you were talking about, and I lost it. And I will say one of the things that we have always said is what you said about closets. You want to give the illusion that you have a ton of space and storage. So we say like, empty it out or take things out, but and evenly space everything. So it looks like, wow, they have a lot of storage, not like, oh my goodness, like it's bursting at the seams. So I will say that is one thing that we've always said.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, when I was living, okay, I'm gonna tell you this story. When I was living in Toronto, this is before Komari, and I was a very messy, very cluttered person. Okay, this is 7, 8 years ago before I moved to Calgary, and we were selling our place in Toronto, and the realtor came. We invited the realtor. We were like, come and tell us what we need to
yeah.
do. We're ready to sell our home, and he wouldn't even take the full tour. He's like, Helen, I can't sell your house. It's way too cluttered. And I was like, he's like, you need to do something about this. I'm like, I did. Like, that's why I invited you. Like, you don't invite a realtor until you think you're ready. And then he's like, you're not ready. And so it was kind of a slap in the face. But um, so I remember thinking like, okay, how do I, because I lived in a townhouse and I loved stuff, right? And so we had like a pot rack in the kitchen, took that down. We had like spice racks on the walls, took that down.
Yeah.
And just like taking down all the little like, knickknacks and artworks that only I would like. Because I had some like really cute ones, but it was maybe too cute for the average person. Like most people wouldn't want Hello Kitty in their kitchen, maybe. I wouldn't want
Yeah,
Hello
I
Kitty in
can
my
agree with
kitchen
that.
right
Yeah.
now. But 10 years ago, I did. It was my first place. So, you decorate your place differently when it's your first place.
Yeah.
Anyway, like we ended up selling our place in 3 days. And so there were so many things that I learned from that lesson. It's like I did see what my realtor was talking about after I got rid of a lot of the stuff. And that was my first experience with decluttering, and then bring all that stuff into this current place that I'm in, and then having to declutter again. That was the KonMari process,
Yeah.
because then it wasn't just about like, oh, I just need to get rid of stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a different way of thinking when you're tidying
Yeah.
with the KonMari method. Um, but yeah, like you basically don't typically you try not to have like any kind of personality in a house you're trying to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. You want people to be able to come in and envision them living in your house.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember even when we bought the condo that I'm in right now, my husband didn't want it at all. He was so hung up on the wicker furniture that the previous owners had. He's like, I don't like wicker. I'm like, we're not buying their furniture. I'm like, please just look at the space with the layout. But he couldn't let go of the
You couldn't
fact that
get past that.
it was wicker in every room. And he was just like, all this wicker, I just don't understand.
I would
And
agree with him.
but at the end of the day, yeah, you want people to be able to like picture themselves living in your home, and no one wants to live in a clutter space, even if they do live in a clutter space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, having like a clear counter, I think is like in all the surfaces, your bathroom, your tables, your kitchen. I think that's like basics.
Yeah.
And
Um,
that's how we encourage people to live too in the KonMari way.
are you planning to have, because I know how successful your 6 week challenge was, are you going to do another one of those? Tell the
I
people, because I've got a feeling there's going to be a few people that want to do that.
I will. I think it's going to be in the fall because there's just too much going on right now, especially with, you know, like I feel like I could probably start going back to people's homes in the next month or so. Like I haven't started,
Yeah.
but it's something that, I feel positive about it. What do you
Yeah.
think? Right?
I
Like,
yeah, it's a new month. We're trending the right way, I think, and it's we can only be positive, right? You've got to focus on every day's a new day and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And people
yeah.
we're seeing a lot more movement now in the market. In terms of buyers going out and properties are now going under contract. In the last 3 days, I've seen a number of them go under contract. And that is so refreshing, right? Because I feel
Yeah.
like people have just been cooped up and now they're ready to get out. And we need
Mm-hmm.
that. Our city needs that
For
in a
sure.
safe way.
Yes, in a safe way, for sure. Another realtor shared with me that they're getting calls from people getting divorced after COVID. I don't know if that's like, but it's like that's a thing, right? You spend
Yeah.
so much time with a person and you're like, I don't think we should spend any more time together. And
Yeah.
then so they're getting calls about like listing their homes after this
Yeah.
thing happens. But for my challenge, I probably will do it in the fall. And I've started, I have a wait list on my website so that if people wanted to join the challenge, they can just sign up for the wait list. They're not
Okay.
like obligated to join the challenge. It's just to be the first to find out when the
What's
next one is
happening in the
happening.
details? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting about I had that conversation about divorces today with a mortgage broker actually. It's
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, I think if a lot of people were on the fence before this, now they know like it's, we're
Yeah.
proceeding, getting the divorce proceedings going. But
Yeah.
that's what she was saying. She's seeing a lot of.
Yeah. I saw some really funny, like on Twitter, not Twitter, like on websites, and they were pulling quotes from Twitter and saying like, watching people's like they're like watching things I learned about my spouse since working from home with them,
Yeah.
and it's like I didn't know my spouse is a let's table this conversation for later kind of person, or like they're just like just really funny things that people
Yeah.
are noticing. They're like, I didn't know you're like that person I hate at work at home.
Well, and I haven't been I was so into what you were saying. I haven't been looking to see if anyone had questions. So if anyone had questions, please, I'm sorry I missed them. Retype them. I don't know if you saw any Helen come through, but
Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to scroll back.
oh, see, I didn't even know that. I'm just so amazed that still have sound. This is amazing. And
The Instagram gods with you today.
apparently, yeah.
Have you
Um,
done any kind of like tidying up in your home?
just cleaning.
Just cleaning.
Just
Cleaning's good.
I
But
just
have you noticed you have to clean more often because like everyone's home all the time?
yeah.
Like, yeah, we've definitely had to clean a lot more. And it's like, why? Didn't I just vacuum 2 days ago?
See, but I love it. I love pulling out the vacuum. I just love
Yeah.
everything about that. But yeah, no, the tidying, you've inspired me. It's just it seems like a daunting task, but I love that you break it down into your checklist. So I think that's so critical.
I think sometimes people call me because they're looking at this project and they have no idea where to begin. Especially like I find a lot of my clients are moms and a lot of them have more than one kid. So, some of them have four kids. And when you have four kids, it's a lot of people, a lot of stuff, a lot of different age groups.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might even have like staff, like nannies
Yeah.
or caregivers and things like that. So it adds to a lot of people into,
Yeah.
this thing. And just like it's overwhelming to think about like, how do I even start? And that's why I think um, some people do need the extra like one-on-one guidance, and some
Yeah.
people do really well with like group challenges, and some people do really well even just reading the book, right? Like when I read Marie's book and decided to make a change in my life, there was no options. There was no KonMari consultants. That wasn't a thing. I like try to Google how do I hire Marie, and of course, it was not possible.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, and because like when you just don't even know, and there was times when I would like ask my husband, I'll be like, what do you think Marie meant by this? And so he always joked that he was the original KonMari consultant because because he helped me. So,
Oh, that's sweet. Well, you could
yeah.
tell that you are living your passion every
Oh,
day.
thank you.
You're very
It
passionate about it.
it's so rewarding to see people making a change and like this one lady that I'm currently working with, she didn't have people over in her house for 14 years. For 14 years, she did not have any friends over. And, she felt really embarrassed and like she felt so much shame with her space. And, and it's overwhelming, like no idea where to start. So we're working and kind of just have to stay focused on the small
Yeah.
subcategories because if I start looking around everywhere else too, yeah, there's a lot of work ahead. But then the magical thing happens, and sometimes, you have like a breakthrough in a category and you let go of a lot of stuff. Like I think in clothing alone, she probably let go of like 6 to 8. I use those biggest bag possible, like the ones that would fit into your like recycling bins, like those
Right.
huge
Yeah.
bags. Yeah, like just letting go of all those
Yeah.
things and creating room because a lot of the time people are messy because they don't have like enough storage for the amount of things they own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and you can't possibly take care of that many items. I compare to puppies. Like puppies are so cute. If you have one puppy, you can probably take care of one puppy really well. But if you have 100 puppies, that's probably too many.
Yeah.
Like, and it would be chaotic. And so sometimes things are like that too. You can take care of like, a small amount of things. Anyway, so this lady, she actually had like a fondue dinner party at her house
Oh, after 14 years.
after
I know.
14 years. Like when I think I was more excited that she had a party than she was.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know. I just think it's so amazing when people are able to make this change and like, really think about like what is the life that's going to bring me more joy? What am I missing in my life? And then making the decisions towards that.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, it's not about, you know, does this spark joy? It's like, does this have a place in my ideal life? I don't know. It just helps you think about things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
then it's not just a shirt. It's like, is this the shirt I'm wearing in my ideal life?
Well, I'm intrigued about the group challenge because I'm a very competitive person. So if I know I'm competing, I will excel.
It's not a competition.
Oh,
It's
tell
just,
me it is because then I
it's,
will excel.
that's funny.
Well, thank you so much, Helen. This was wonderful. You're a pleasure, and I'm thrilled to hear that your business has not halted. It's done the opposite during this time. So I hope that continues for you.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks for having me on your Instagram.
Thank you. And we have sound, and we had people that joined. Thank you to everyone that joined, and everyone have a great. Did I lose sound? Did I lose sound? Oh.